mean, like, we're good? So we're good to go? Get started here?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. There's still a couple people joining, but I think that should be fine.
Yep.
Give a minute.
All right. Kate and Angela and Chase just hopped in, so we've got them with us now as well.
All right. Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. It's been a while since we've been together, and the world looks really different from the last time we were together. And it's been quite a roller coaster ride. Thank you for pulling this together. I'm excited to hear some of the information and to be able to provide some feedback regarding the communications. I know our parents have a lot of questions, our staff has a lot of questions, and I think right now we have to recognize that we're not going to have all the answers. And as we're moving through this, and I think being responsive as much as possible is really important. And it starts with these types of conversations to find out where are we excelling and where are some of the places that maybe we need to tweak things to be able to reach our families. So I just appreciate the entire communications department is here, I believe, tonight, since you are all working together it's a huge undertaking that you have. And so seeing this team approach is fabulous, and we're excited to hear from you.
Thank you. Stephanie, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about the application for new members is closing Friday. So
yes, thank you. So Friday is the last day for the family communications application. We are looking to fill 2 spaces. Specifically, we're looking for 2 parent voices. We have a lot of representation from New Hanover County Schools across the area, but we would like to hear some more of the parent voices. We've got some that are both on the committee that work for New Hanover County Schools and are also parents. But we lost a few last year for a couple of reasons. So you still have a few more days to apply. I believe it's still on the homepage of NHCS.net to be able to access it. It's the Family Communications Committee application, and it will close at the end of the day on Friday. So thank you, Anne, for that reminder. The meetings are every other month. And during that time, we talk about how are we communicating with families, everything from the website to Connect 5, to our families that maybe speak different languages, how are we reaching them? And the Family Communications Committee in its first year, really, the members of this committee have just done a really amazing job of reflecting the needs of our community. And a lot of the ideas and suggestions have been taken into consideration and implemented. So it's been really cool to see these conversations are actually having impact. So I just thank everybody that's been a part of this committee for the past year, and looking forward to year 2 together and welcoming a few new members.
thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, everyone, for being here. One more bit of housekeeping, I guess. We do have a new staff member. We believe since our last meeting, he joined us just after our last meeting, and that's Chase Fulton. Chase, give you a minute to introduce yourself.
Yeah, like she said, my name is Chase Fulton. Prior to this, I worked for about 4 years at WCT News, Channel 6, as a broadcast director over there. So now I'm working with Michael McGuire over at the New Hanover County Schools TV station. And right now we're just kind of working on some videos, and we just got done shooting a couple of them yesterday. And I look forward to meeting everybody and working with you all.
All right, thank you, Chase. And yeah, thanks again for everyone being here tonight. I'm going to jump right in. We have a lot we want to share in terms of what we have been doing. And then, as Stephanie was saying, we want to hear what you're hearing, what we need to do. We know that there's a lot to be done between now and the beginning of school, and then beyond that. So I'm going to start out sharing my screen. If everyone can see that. All right. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. Talk a little bit about, we started back before Plan B was announced, as a department, coming together and brainstorming how we were going to approach this. So we'll give you a little bit of the overview of our goals and then the tactics that we're using. And then we'll get into your feedback, which is what we really want to hear. We started out by defining our goals of providing detailed information, and it's complex information, as everybody knows. So in the clearest language and the most simplified format, we want to build transparency and accountability. We want to provide a large component of education related to the health and safety protocols that are going to be in existence at all of our schools. And we want to open up channels for dialogue, two-way conversation and input. Where we set out to answer questions, to build confidence and trust, to provide support and show empathy for what our families and students are going through, to ease anxiety and frustration, and to promote health and safety. And we defined our stakeholders and our communication flow, which starts with conversations, interim superintendent, senior staff, and the board, and then flows through the principals at every school, and then flows down through all of our district employees. After that communication has been accomplished, we reach out to media outlets, and we also notify our partner organizations. I just listed a few here, but there are numerous organizations that we just keep them up to date in terms of what we're doing, and they do the same for us. So I'm going to talk, before we get into all of our tactics, I'm going to acknowledge the elephant in the room, and we are missing our goals. And I say that with a little bit of forgiveness for our department and for communications professionals across the state at this point. I think I was in a meeting with other communications officers for districts across North Carolina. And I like the analogy that one of my colleagues made. She said she likened our situation to being an airline pilot, and you've boarded the plane, you're preparing to take off, but you have no seatbelts, no flight experience, no oxygen masks, and we're still building the plane. So at least we had a moment where we could laugh about it. But what we're doing is we're using the channels that we have in existence. So we're using our website as our hub of all communication and information. And we'll bring that up so you can see it, and we'll talk a little more about the features that we're building into the website. We are issuing press releases and statements as needed, but what we hope to do by the end of this week is move back into that mode we were in spring, where we were issuing, if not daily or as needed statements, where it's really that mode of over communication, and it comes to be, that regular communication comes to be expected among our stakeholders. We're also publishing, we'll talk a little more in depth about our FAQ and our family guide that we've posted to the website. Those are living documents. And we've also increased our Spanish translation capabilities and our efforts to reach our at-risk populations through paper copies and support at meal sites and school sites. And we use Connect 5 and our social media, other tools. We have our podcast and our TV station and video and YouTube. Signage and QR codes. We've worked with the operations division to roll out signage for school opening. And then, of course, our media outlets and our continuing that two-way dialogue that we're starting with the surveys with town halls and open houses working through the schools. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop my share here. I'm sorry, 1 minute. I have to. reset and minimize. I'm sorry, bear with me 1 minute. Okay. I'm sorry for that. We did issue surveys this past week, and that was a follow-up. We did a high-level survey early on to gauge trends and gross measures of the feelings that our families and staff are experiencing related to school opening. We followed that up with much more detailed surveys just this week. And those surveys close on Friday. We're collecting data from families related to specific decisions in terms of remote instruction and in-person instruction, intentions for childcare and transportation, and then a staff survey with that level of detail as well. We are in process with that. We launched a call-in line today to support families that need assistance in completing the survey and have questions. And we're going to analyze that data, and that will be reported out at the board meeting that's been scheduled for next Tuesday. When we launch those surveys, we launch the surveys with a family guide in English and in Spanish. And that was publicized through social media and Connect 5 email and calls in English and Spanish. And in the ideal world, we would have had more time to prepare more detail, include more detail in the family guide. But given the tight time frame between the announcement of Plan B and the start of school, we felt we had to go ahead and get that family guide out. We felt it would support the survey, but it doesn't provide enough detail. And we're hearing that loud and clear from our families. So we're working with the divisions to develop content as quickly as we can to increase the information that they have to make those decisions before the survey closes. And those are living documents. So the family guides and the frequently asked questions, which are posted on the homepage of the website, will be updated continuously. And as they're updated, we'll post that announcement through our communication channels to let people know to check for the updates. Okay, I'll turn it over to Chris to talk about Spanish translation. Do we have?
Let's pull up here. So as Ann did say, mention, we are increasing our Spanish translations. Recently, we have brought in 3 contracted translators who will be able to translate all of our content going out up to all of our families as quickly as possible. So that we looked at our budget for the communication division, and we're able to set aside about 1/3 of that budget to bring in those translators to ensure that everything that we go out, it goes out in Spanish as well as English. And that goes from our news releases, our press releases, video content, and social media posts, as well as looking to do it with our podcast as well now. So just really hitting at that that Latinx community and making sure they are getting that information as readily as all of our families are as well. In addition, our Google Translate button has been added to the top of our website so that not just our Spanish families, but all 30 languages that over 30 languages that we do serve in New Hanover County schools, they will be able to go to our website and click on the Google Translate button at the top, and it will translate that page, everything that's on that page, into their native language. In addition to the Google Translate button, we have been continuing our conversations with the Latino Alliance with the One Community Dialogue monthly. They are providing insight and expertise to us regularly and helping us on our best methods when it comes to communication. Another way that we are improving our communications to our Latinx family is realizing that a lot of them rely heavily on our social media. So just kind of making sure whatever information we have out there that we're also posted on social media, because where some of our families may not have access to internet, a lot of them still do have smartphones, iPhones, or devices that are able to connect to any kind of app content. So just making sure whatever's on our website, we're also publicizing it on that app content. We are when we're looking at reaching our families without internet, we have NHCS TV that in the spring worked on instructional content. They're looking at ways they can bring that back for the fall semester as well, and I'll let Michael talk more about that when we get to him. We are also making sure, as Ann mentioned, that all of our content is available in printed publications. So the family guides, the surveys, they went out and they were available online, but we made sure our schools are getting those as well so they can print those and distribute it to the families who do not have that internet access. We're also looking at exploring ways that we can reach out to our radio and have them publicize some of our information as well. So that's my part on Spanish translations and non-English speaking families. I think, Brandon, you're up next. You want me to just keep the screen going and you can talk from there?
That would be great, Caress. Thanks. Yeah. So we can first, good evening. It's good to see all of you again tonight, even though it's virtually, of course. Yeah, so just kind of talking a little bit about what we've been working on with media and also with Connect 5 and things like that. I have been working with Connect 5 more extensively here lately, and I have really my entire time I've been here. Caress, do you mind pulling up the Connect 5? I think we might have a slide on that.
It's up.
Is it up? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't know why I'm only seeing the home screen. Maybe mine's not updating. That's weird.
I'm seeing the website.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the website.
Is everyone else having that problem too?
Yep.
Yep, I'm only seeing the website.
Okay, let's see.
May have to quit your share and then reshare the PowerPoint if that's what you're going back to.
Are we seeing it now, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it now. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No worries. All right. Yeah. So Connect 5, sending a lot of calls, a lot of emails pretty frequently. Important press releases are going out really quickly. I've been sending, obviously Ann and I and Chris, we've all been sending a lot of press releases. But in addition to that, a lot of these releases are also turning into Connect 5, whether that be maybe the entire press release or maybe something a little bit shorter, just kind of short, sweet, to the point to get that out to the families. As Caress mentioned, we are working with several of our Spanish translators to get those all out in Spanish as well, to make sure that that population is served here in Wilmington. Releases, of course, as I mentioned, they're sent out to staff, to the board, to the superintendent. They're sent out to the community, the media, and to our families with the Connect 5. We also have a phone line open right now for our families that need a little bit of help filling out the surveys. They may not have the internet access. at their house. And so we have been using actually, so Google Voice, we've been using that with English and both Spanish. I was fielding those today, and I can tell you the response was, it was great. I received over 200 calls within a span of a little over an hour. So had to kind of send them, come up with a new plan to kind of send it to an automated deal, and then kind of go back and sort through them and see, how we can best help these families. Was able to get back to a lot of the families that needed the help with the surveys, which was good. So that was overall positive. We did have some folks, kind of call in that were just kind of voicing their concerns with, how exactly everything's going to go about. And so, just kind of reminding those families that we are working diligently, as hard as we can, but it's such a rapidly changing situation that, that's what we have to do. And then, so yeah, Caress, we can move on to the next slide, I believe. And I think that's you. Yep.
Looking at our social media communication, of course, in this time of year, we are seeing a influx in comments, concerns, posts, likes, and shares in regards to what we see on both our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account. And for those of you not following us, those account names are up there for you. A lot of comments and concerns from families regarding the opening plan. We are trying to be as responsive and engaging with those families and those comments as we possibly can. Just always trying to comment and share what information we do have for them. And if we don't have the information, let them know that we are seeking that information out. In addition to that, again, I'm going to mention our translating services. Prior to this, we were only getting information translated on our website. So now with those increased resources, we're able to kind of look at translating everything that we're putting on social media as well. In addition to making sure we're engaging and responding to social media comments and posts from our families, we are also participating in Facebook groups. So Community Conversations with New Hanover County Schools, CLEAR, which is Community Linking and Educating Against Racism, UNCW AGA, which is the African American Graduate Association. And today we were able to link up with Latinos United in Wilmington, and kind of making sure we're using those groups to further and increase our reach to all of our families. We're also working with NHCS TV, so Chase and Michael, to kind of produce and develop short 3-minute videos that we can get out there that kind of serve as tutorials, demonstrations, and promos for all information that our parents and families are going to need moving into the opening of the school year. When we're looking at our website, I'm going to try to go over back to that page, and you guys let me know if it's not following or doing right.
Looks good so far, Caress.
Are you on the website now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So this is the landing page for our website for hashtag NHCS Ready, Set, Return. And we're just really making sure that as this is like the hub for all information. If you want to know something about the opening of the school year, you will be able to find it here. Over off to the side, we have it to where it links to each plan and gives information under what that plan is. Governor Cooper, of course, put us in Plan B, so you see that plan is actually highlighted with a red line to kind of bring more attention to it, so families know the same will be indicated as we move or go from plan to plan. We also have divisions separated to where you can see their information: operations, student support and safety, technology, and teaching and learning. Just click on either one of those and it will take you to the information that we have regarding what opening plans for that division. In addition to that, we are also, Anne mentioned the family guides. They are linked there as well. The frequently asked questions are linked there. We are also moving to more embedding our videos on our website instead of just linking them. That way it kind of creates a more aesthetically pleasing look, and it brings viewers' attention and the audience's attention right to the video, as whereas just a link is just a little blue light and you may not see it. But any videos that we have, we're trying to look to embed those so that parents can just click on them and they play right there, keeping them on the website. In addition to our information, we have also linked information from North Carolina DHS, from the CDC, and New Hanover County DHS on our website as well. Are there, oh, and let me just go right back and show everyone that translate button that's right there at the top that allows you to kind of switch between languages. And I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down to Spanish, and it instantly translates everything there for you. All right.
Crest, this is Bernice Johnson with New Hanover County Council of PTAs. I would just encourage, hey, how are you today?
Good, and you?
Good. I would just also encourage New Hanover County Schools to join our Facebook group as well, and I can send you a link to that if needed.
Please do.
For another group also that's gotten really popular, but I'll wait till we get to the feedback time.
All right, looks like I'm up next. I'll first gonna have Chase talk just a little about some of the videos we've been doing and have planned to do about returning to school. Then I just want to talk a little more about some the TV studio capabilities. Our role has changed drastically with COVID from more studio setting to virtual and streaming, and we're working with that. As many of you should know, hopefully know by now, all the board meetings, committee meetings, this meetings are all streamed now, so people can watch them live and then they're automatically archived. And I will talk more about the TV studio after I let Chase kind of talk about some of the videos we've been working on.
Yeah, so like Michael said, we're working on some videos. Basically, they're informational videos that once we get them filmed and edited, ideally we're going to send out to all the parents and staff in the entire school system. And this is still an ongoing process, and we're trying to get this done as quick as we can, but still be as accurate as we can with all the information. So some videos that we've done have been communications, operations, some interviews with those people, student support, how-to videos on hand sanitizing. We just spent many hours yesterday, me, Michael, Brandon, Caress, over at Sunset Park, basically filming what a student does from the time they get to the bus stop to the time they step into the classroom, and all the procedures in between those two times. Some upcoming videos that we need to work on is basically a school nurse training video, how to wear a mask, stuff we've kind of already filmed, but we're still working on currently. We're still trying to work on transportation, instructional department. These are all, again, videos that we're really trying to get done as soon as we can, but we're kind of stuck in the spot where we're waiting on kind of other people to get information before they can give us information. So we can't really make an informational video unless we have concrete 100% information. We don't want to give wrong information or have to end up sending out a video and then saying, oh wait, sorry, there was wrong information in that, ignore that video or have to take the video back. But this is obviously constantly updating, and we're constantly trying to change our plan if we need to. And yeah, it's just an ongoing process, but we're actually making a lot of progress this week so far.
Yep. Yeah. And some of those videos he's saying upcoming, we actually shot and we are editing them and be rolling them out this week. Like I said, we just got one finished today, and we have a whole list compiled of topics we're looking forward toward working on and getting the full information together. As far as the TV studio, it's kind of return towards school. We want to kind of get back into doing either virtually or limited people in the studio, some shows. Definitely some back to school informational shows. And when I say by shows, I mean like longer content where we can get more details, 30-minute, hour-long shows. I also presented a plan, which we're waiting to hear back instruction. If I don't know how many of you know, in the spring when we went to COVID, we, with the help of basically a few principals and voluntary teachers, worked basically all the way up. By the end, we had K through 5th grade lessons, 3 lessons a week, and that included specials was added 3 lessons a week, which with music, art, PE combined. And we even finished off a couple of programs like embryology that 2nd graders went through. They did some shows. And my plan for the fall was to kind of try, I presented the instruction, we're waiting to see where they go with things, is maybe studio as a county-wide base to, at least for elementary education, have a set of instruction every day. I was proposed 30 minutes per grade level, 5 a week. That kind of gave a base instruction on where the teachers say, for instance, we'll use 3rd grade. 3rd grade teachers throughout the county should be kind of covering this material. So that way it would leave the individual classroom teachers to work on students individually, where they're all getting this level of instruction, and we can put it out through TV, online, and build the programs into an archive on YouTube, which is also closed caption, and we can link those to our website in specific instruction categories. So if you missed the lesson, you can go back and say, you missed 3rd grade Monday's lesson, they're stored there and dated. Again, we're in kind of plan B, which is in person and online. So, and there's some other requirements that we require, basically probably 5 teachers of each grade level minimum to do 1 lesson a week, and things like that. So we're just trying to basically present plans and how we can support the school system in this time. We know there's a great need with instruction and home learning, but we are always open to ideas. We changing our shows to meet the needs of people, adding in shows. We'll definitely be, as we get in closer, having some sit-down interviews. We've already posted some, as Chase said, with like the head of student support and operations and communications. So we will keep those up too. So any type of feedback or thoughts or how the TV studio can support things in this time, we're always open. Like I said, our jobs have changed drastically from what we have done in February to what we are doing now. We basically streamed some high school sports and then teacher of the year banquet, and that was it. Now we stream almost daily different things for people. So we're working on making those adaptive changes. So again, we're always here to help and do the best we can to support.
Michael, this is Jeanette.
Yeah.
I like the idea of more structure throughout all the classes. I think some parents feel as if one school is doing more than the other. We don't want to be lockstep, but by the same token, we want to ensure that the curriculum is implemented for every child.
And that my hope was really, when I presented it, was that if it came from county instruction, not only would it kind of maybe help create a baseline for all the schools, but really my hope was to free the teachers up. If they have 5 students in their class that really may need a little more time, they won't have to work on their basic lesson plan every single day because the county's providing that. So they can spend their time working on those students who need more work to that higher level and bringing up those students that haven't quite reached it. Like I said, I don't have an instruction background per se for that. So there may be more to it than that. That's why it really needs some buy-in and support from instruction. But hopefully, if something they would look at, and if we can do it, that I think that would be great.
So do I. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I will add, I believe that one of the survey questions is trying to determine how many families would use the TV station and the TV programming. So I think hopefully our conversations will pick up after that. And just another point about the videos, we think this is a really powerful tool for education and engaging the children. As what we see is that divisions have needs internally in terms of training staff, like the video that the staff just worked on yesterday in terms of training the health screeners at each school. And then externally, of course, teaching children how to wash their hands, everything that was just mentioned, and really, ride-alongs on the bus to know what to expect when you get to the bus stop and what to expect when you're riding and socially distancing. And then when you arrive at school and you have another health screening at the door. So we think these will be really powerful as soon as we can, shoot and edit and get these out to the families.
Definitely. And yes, ma'am. Yeah. And so I would say, with a lot of the folks that I've been talking to today on the phone, the channel is definitely working. And a lot of those folks, I would ask the question, do you have cable? Have you been watching? And every single one just about that I talk to at least is like, yeah, we enjoy what, you're putting out. And so that is, I think, a really powerful tool. And going back to some of the videos as well, we've got the instruction videos, we've got the, so many different videos coming out. We've also found that, it is a powerful tool also just to kind of answer the parents' questions, kind of in a one-stop shop deal. So you may have seen, some of the videos that I've put out. You're probably tired of seeing me on the TV, honestly, but that's okay because we know that the parents want to know this information. And so we're trying to get it out to them. So, whether that be interviewing the head of athletics or interviewing, Eddie Anderson about, buses or, Mr. Clausen or anyone, these have been a good thing. And we're going to continue to push these out because we have gotten, overall a good response from a lot of our videos. I would say that the FAQ, that is something that we've all been working on as well. I know Ann and Caress touched on that. We're monitoring the results from these different surveys, several surveys that we've sent out, and compiling the findings from them and trying to get that out to the families. We have, made that readily available to the media. Caress has done an excellent job just kind of putting that together, putting it in nice charts and graphs and getting that out there and, showing what are the biggest things that folks want to know. And we're answering the questions when it comes to service. But when it comes to FAQ, that is something also that we are pushing out slowly over the past couple of days. We're about to push it out even more heavily here in the next few days. You'll be seeing a lot more of the questions and answers. It's just taking a little bit of time to make sure that we get back with the right folks to make sure that the answers are correct on those. And so we're creating the documents containing those. We're going to push them out online. It is a living document, so that, like Ann mentioned, they will we will be adding to that. And so hopefully folks, if they're like, I really got this question, well, they can just go on that website and it's right there in front of them. And that's something that we'll be continuing to work on. Moving on to the media relations. And so I've been working, really closely with all of our local channels, television, radio, newspaper, online, to try to tell the positive stories of teachers who are teaching remotely and in the classroom. Like we mentioned before, as they get ready, you're going to start seeing these stories coming out of how our teachers preparing to go back. You've probably already seen a lot of the stories of how they adapted to this online kind of environment. We're also doing the ride-alongs on the bus. That's something that Michael and Caress and Chase did yesterday. And I was outside getting some shots as well, and a few other things. But we're going to be pushing that out to the media, working really closely with the transportation department. Tomorrow, Mr. Mark Clausen from the Transportation Division will be on WECT News 6 with Ashley Kozakowski for an interview. went ahead and set that up today. So, they have a lot of questions about the buses. So figured, this will be a good time to go ahead and knock out some of those. But in addition, we're going to have the reporters, eventually soon, also getting on some of these buses and kind of out there for the more interactive stories. Of course, social distance and, following the safety precautions. We're also explaining, what the staff are doing to keep kids safe and healthy. That's the series of videos that Michael talked about. We're going to be working with local media outlets on those as well. And then, like I mentioned before, just continuing those Zoom interviews. We've had several interviews done with many of our leaders, of course, and even some of our teachers and athletic folks as well, talking with local news reporters and anchors for the longer interviews and also the shorter feature stories. A lot of content. You're going to be seeing a lot more content coming out in the next few weeks. And I'd liken some of these to what you saw in the springtime. A lot of the positive stories that were coming out when we were in school. I will say, this is something Ann and I were talking about yesterday afternoon. Not gonna lie to you. I mean, right now it is a lot harder to find some of the positive stories because of the nature of COVID-19 and how frustrating it can be and emotional it can be for a lot of the families. But there is so many positive things still going on. It's abundant, and we're working to push those stories out like we did in the spring, like I mentioned. We're going to continue the interviews with athletics. We pushed that out this week. Mental health, we talked with Coastal Horizons. We're bringing back Partners in Education to talk about what the work our local partners are doing with us. And because mental health is so important, and that's something I've been working with Kristen Jackson on, Caressa and as well, to kind of touch on that. So really, from every angle, child nutrition, we pushed out so many stories about that. Over 600,000 meals, and we're going to be continuing to follow back up on that as school gets going again. And then I think, where else? QR codes. Okay. So, we've been working on the QR codes, and basically it's like for those of you, I'm sure most probably know what a QR code is, kind of like a barcode. I created one, worked with Eddie Anderson, our operations division. We're going to place those on school buildings so that parents can just use their phone to scan it. Real simple, real easy. They're going to just scan it with their phone. It's going to send them right to the Ready, Set, Return website. We're looking for new ways to be innovative with the new virtual environment in every aspect that we can. And that's something that you'll continue to see from our division. Really doing a lot of things right now to just try to be proactive when it comes to the communication. But we also don't want to be, push, like we mentioned before, push out anything that's wrong. So we're making sure that we're trying to do those checks and balance, double checking things before we get them out. I think that's pretty much it for me right now.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. And
Yes,
just wrapping up with one other item, we do plan to work with the principals on town hall events and their open houses. The open houses, the dates have been set. And one thing that has been discussed is a virtual introduction that we can provide that would provide some consistency across the district for the open houses. Perhaps also walkthroughs at schools for new students and even returning students, but particularly at those schools that have been heavily affected by redistricting. We do have to sort out some issues related to the virtual. So, attendance limitations in Google Meet and things like that, but we're going to be working through those. So at this point, we've given you kind of an overview of the different channels we're using, and we'd like to hear more about your thoughts on things that we can do and add and change, and specific issues we might address.
And well, this is Bernice Johnson with New Hanover County Council of PTAs. So I will step out and go first because, of course, as I've related to the school system, I've received, hundreds of questions from parents that I'm passing on. and I'm happy to do that as the PTA. So I kind of picked some top questions that I think I know the answer, and when people are asking me, I'm thinking, well, I think they put that out, so maybe the solution is to put it all in one place. And so the first would be, as we came off this spring, we were thrust into COVID and learning. So I think some parents have apprehensions about all the different platforms that are being used. And so I know that there was a message put out by New Hanover County dictating, K through second and so forth, which platform will be used. But as I'm sitting here on the meeting, I went on the website and I can't find that anywhere. Even though I know I received it, I can't find it. So I think if we can assure parents and put that information in one location, that would help as well.
Okay, thank you.
The second most important question, of course, as we discussed, I think we need to distinguish between the New Hanover County School-based virtual academy and the state-based virtual academy. And then I have like 4 important questions, so I won't hold all the time. The third most important question that I'm getting is if you commit to if you commit to remote learning, can you switch to in-person? I know I received that message that they're asking you to go 9 weeks before you switch, but again, I couldn't find that in one location where I received that message. And the second, and the fourth would be lunches. There's some concern about how children will receive lunches during either one, if they're remote, or either if they're 2 weeks remote. How will parents be responsible for getting lunches? If parents are working, how, will there be a way for lunches to be delivered?
Okay, thank you for that, Bernice. And I know that you shared a list of questions that we're going to be adding to our FAQ. I'll talk a little bit about our process. Some of those, the distinction between the different academies, we can definitely address. There are a few things we just don't know yet. And I'm wondering, and I would be interested in this input. For instance, the learning platforms. We don't have definitive information yet to post. And the lunches, again, now that's coming. It's coming very soon, but we just don't have it yet. So I'm wondering what you think the community would think would be more helpful. We can include these in the FAQ and let them know we are working on this, and we will have the answer as soon as possible. Or we can hold. I'm just wondering what lets them know we are working on this. We know this is a question and an issue for you.
Personally, I think, parents want details. And I think that, I'm kind of two-sided on it. Yes, we don't want to put out wrong information, but I think that that the school system shouldn't be afraid to put out the best information they have at this time. And parents need to realize that may change. I mean, when we start on August 17th, week 1, week 2 may not look like week 1 because we're learning through the process. And as well, week 3 might not look like week 2 because I think it's just going to be a continual learning process. But I've just been encouraging, all my PTAs, all my civic groups, parents to let's get these surveys in so we can get some better answers. But people are hesitant about answering the survey because they want more details.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I can share, we do know about the learning platforms because that was submitted in the remote learning plan for the district. And so I was looking to get you beyond 8th grade though, because I didn't go further than my school and my child's school. But that K2 will use Seesaw. 3rd grade will be a transition year, transitioning students from Seesaw to Google Classroom. And then 4th through 8th grade will be Google Classroom. And I'm in the plan right now. Give me 1 second and I'll tell you.
I think it's Canvas, isn't it?
Yes, 9th through 12th we'll use Canvas.
I wonder if I could ask for input on the remote learning plan, because we have discussed this internally and we felt that it was complex to be posted on the website. Do you agree with that? Or do you feel sharing that would be more helpful?
I do. I think one of the things, what I actually did two town halls yesterday. And so what I did is I went and I think one of the things about the remote learning plan that can make it cumbersome is that if you have a first grader, there's a lot of stuff in the remote learning plan that you don't need. And if you have an 11th grader, there are things that you don't need. So I do think it is even more cumbersome than what I want to give my staff. So I'm trying to look at like what to pull, but that's what I did for my town hall is I went through and pulled the pieces, that I felt were most relevant to my audience. And then we'll do the same in terms of the professional development that I give my staff around it. But I also think that Dawn was going to, even for, district staff, was going to try to take it out of the template into a more, I think, user-friendly document. But I think it is really helpful. The other thing that's in it that like I pulled out for my parents was the weekly maximum time for student engagement. So, and it's broken down by day, minutes per day. So, so that they could see the progression, as students get older, but so they could also see, there is some work into this, but it shouldn't take your child longer than this many minutes a day, things like that.
Hey, Anne.
Yes.
This is Allison Linkner. Maybe you can help me with this. I'm looking on the website, the New Hanover County Schools website, and the FAQ documents that I see one that's down on the bottom left in the Ready, Set, Return page that offers English and Spanish, but it seems like the questions are more statewide. And then there's one link under on the main part of the page that has school opening 2021 English, Spanish, but there's only 3 questions answered in that. Is there another doc somewhere?
No, we have one that's being reviewed by the divisions now, and that will replace the one that you're seeing in the middle of the page.
Okay.
That would be the primary one.
Yeah, I'm just watching Facebook for updates and seeing a lot of parents concerned about, like Kate was saying, the virtual, what that's going to look like. Is that something that the kids will be, it'll be synchronous, or will it be asynchronous? Those kind of questions are coming out, and they're afraid to answer the survey because they just don't know the vision of it, what it's really going to look like for their child if they choose virtual, or on their 2 weeks that they're learning remotely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're seeing that as well. I'm sorry.
And I was just going to say thank you, Allison, for mentioning that. All those comments that you're seeing, I am seeing them as well on social media, and I spent all weekend and today and yesterday just going through all those comments, picking them out, and then putting them in our FAQ document so that we can get the exact questions that parents are telling us they want answers to. Those are the questions we want to answer. So, and
they're not published in the FAQ document as of right now, right?
Well, and that was to my question. We don't have that confirmed answer at this time. So we have that out with the divisions, but we are waiting for those answers. And that's why I'm wondering, we could include that when we update that with a more robust FAQ, which we hope to do at the end of the day tomorrow, including that question saying, we've heard your question, but we don't have the answer yet. Is that more effective or more reassuring? I mean, I don't think anything at this point is really going to reassure except providing the answer. But we know it's a question. We know that staff is working very hard to get to that solution, but we can't provide that answer yet. So I'm wondering what's most helpful for our families.
Could you put to acknowledge, like you said, to acknowledge that you have the question in your queue and put it in the document, but then underneath it put response pending or whatever to let us know that at least it's acknowledged that you're working on it.
I agree.
Yeah. That it's being worked on.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing, I kind of spoke against that originally to our staff because I was worried about putting a fact with a bunch of questions and no answers, that the questions with answers would be lost in. So if you were going to find something and we actually had your answer, but there's
Well, maybe-
20 or 30 questions without answers. So finding that
Can you
balance is
separate
a
them?
concern of mine.
Yeah, could you do some kind of a chart? Here are the things we know. Here are the questions that are still being asked that we're working on.
Yeah.
You know,
Several of my colleagues thought I was crazy for doing my town halls yesterday because of the number of questions that even we feel like we're still working through. But first of all, I felt like I would get better survey data if I shared information. But really, and I think this is true for my staff as well, it has been my experience that when you don't communicate with people, they just make up the missing information and
Correct.
never do it to your advantage.
Agreed.
Never do it to your benefit. No benefit of doubt comes when they make it up. They make it up in the worst case scenario, which is absolutely, in my opinion, what's happening on Facebook right now. And so, like in my town hall meeting last night, I began by saying, I know I took questions in advance, but would also take them live. And I said, I know that you have a lot of questions and I have the answers to some of your questions. Some of them I do not, but I'm really glad you're asking them because it helps me know what I'm also not, considering. And so I just said, if I don't know the answer, I had somebody on the call who was taking those questions and who asked them. I said, I will get the answer. I will contact you directly, and then we'll post it, in our FAQ. But I think people just like being communicated with. And I think, unfortunately and unfairly, they assume we're hiding something or that nobody is working on it or thinking about it or, that I think that goes back to that trust piece. And
Correct.
so sometimes I think the vulnerability and the transparency of just saying, I don't know. Somebody probably does know, but it's not me. I'm going to find out if somebody knows. And if they don't, we're going to get to work on that because that's a great question. I think people feel very validated by that.
I agree. I think if you acknowledge that you've received their question and that even if you don't have the answer and you're working on it, that validates that question. And just in transition, I just, just to throw it in, and I think we need some standardization amongst the message that principals are giving. I think it's great that Kate had a town hall, but so her parents are probably feeling a little bit better about the situation where other schools are not feeling so great because they hadn't really got any communication other than fill out this survey.
And can I piggyback on first of all, Kate, that is just an amazing thing that you did for your parents. And I really appreciate that coming from a parent perspective, and you're a parent too. So I know that was filling, you knew that need was there. But also I know a lot of parents want to send their kids back to school. So, and they want their kids to have that in-person instruction. And that's a really important part of it for them. But they're also scared about what happens what if cases continue to increase? Then can I sign them up for, in-person school and then pull them out, or will I be penalized for that? So it's like the opposite of what Ms. Bernice was talking about as far as starting online and then coming to school. So that's also kind of a misconception. No one really knows the answer as far as I've read for that.
But I thought the answer was that they're going to ask you to complete a full 9 weeks. So if you go face to face, I guess, unless it gets much, much worse and nobody goes, I thought the answer, and so I could be wrong, was that whatever choice that you choose, they're going to ask that you complete a full 9 weeks.
Sure, but how can you tell if a kid gets sick, for instance, and then they're out for an unknown number of weeks? You don't really know the difference on whether they're sick or whether they've just been pulled out because of other concerns. Like it just kind of gets muddy.
And it might be because our principal just communicated us. I'm a parent too, elementary school, and they said you would be able to pull your kid out to virtual anytime. But if you went virtual, you were out to the end of the 9 weeks. So if you were in person 2 weeks and pulled them out, then they were out to the end of 9 weeks. That's what they wrote in an email. They said that was the best information they had. So yeah, if that, and Ms. Taylor may have information like that too, since she's a principal, elementary principal.
So I think that they were, this is, you know, as I told my parents last night, it falls under what I think I know. I think that they were intentional in their language because, as I recall, the language reads, we are asking parents to commit to a 9 weeks in elementary school, and we're asking parents to commit. I think it's it's either, I can't remember middle
Semester.
middle and high. So what I told our parents is we're asking you to do that because there are a lot of moving pieces. I mean, it is not, you know, there are a lot of moves. So we're asking you to commit. What I also shared with them is that, you know, circumstances may change for a family for a variety of reasons, regardless of which that you chose. And so if that were the case, and you would like to make a request, that, you know, we can consider what the options are. I think in my opinion, I think everybody heard that. It's really hard because, you know, our schools are very different anyway. And then as we're getting this parent survey data in, you know, it's changing all the time, you know, from school to school, how many will choose remote versus face-to-face, how many staff will be coming back face-to-face. And so, you know, what I told them is that they could make the request and we would do our best to accommodate it, to make it work for their child and for their family. I did also say, though, I think that is easier to do in elementary school than it is in middle or high school because of the semesters. And so I said it in terms of aldermen, you know, that we would do what we could. I said we may not be able to do it overnight, especially if they need to ride the bus. And so just reiterated that there were a lot of moving pieces, but I was under the impression that the language being as it was, which is we are asking parents to commit for this period of time, left a space of understanding in that along the way there are potentially some exceptions that are going to have to be made, you know, just for unforeseen circumstances, you know.
And to go back to your question about, do we put it out there that we don't know? I have seen over and over and over again the comment on social media of they've had all summer to work on this. And we know that you've been working on this, every possibility, and it's hard to work on this without having all the data. And, you know, it's not, you have been working on it and you've been working on it every which way with 60 different possibilities for every response. So I think it's important that those questions are out there, even if the responses aren't, because I think that our community just, going back to what Kate said about the trust, you know, it's something that we're constantly trying to continue to bring back. And right now they're feeling like they're not being heard when they're not being listened to. So by having the vulnerable moment of, look, we hear you. These are the things that you're asking, and these are the things that we don't know yet. And we're not going to know until, you know, we can say we have a board meeting on Tuesday and there will be discussion on Tuesday, you know, and so, and at that point we'll know more. I think that that type of messaging, I think will go a long way with the parents. Chris, one of the groups I wanted to add to your list, it popped up a few days ago. It's Parents Supporting Schools and Teachers. And there's over 1,000 people on it at this point, and talk about incorrect information. They are answering each other, and it's
I'm
parents.
in that group. I've seen that.
Right. So that one, it's growing every day. And some of them, you know, tutors are saying, hey, if you need to tutor kids, like it's a mix of things that are being posted on there, but there's a lot of parents asking questions and other parents are responding. And I'm like, that's not right, you know. So I don't know if we have to get in there now to be able to respond. And it's unfair to you because I know you're trying to get all of these sites and be the social media person. And I feel like we just need to start putting messages out on all of these other sites. Please go to New Hanover County Schools social media for this information. Like, we've got to start redirecting them back to pull away from the social media conversations that are occurring everywhere else. Anything that we can do to get them back to us with where the real information is.
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that one. I will definitely go in and request access to that one, and then see if I can do some redirection on that one. So thank you.
You know, the other thing that I shared with my parents last night, and I don't know if, you all were talking about feel-good stories for the district. I don't have the answer to what the creative way to do this is, but, at the beginning, I had a list of things that parents could help us with, as we get ready for the new year. And the thing at the top of the list was a request for the measure of grace that was given on, March the 16th. When we were propelled into this. And, I just said briefly that, it was brand new to everybody, and teachers were the heroes, as they should have been, for overnight completely transforming the way that we do business and just the improvement that occurred over time. But then I said to parents, I said, well, here we are again. I said, we're certainly better at remote learning than we were, we're better at these things. But once again, we're going to do something we've never done before, because we're not doing more of March, April, May, and June. Now we're doing this completely different thing. And I think, to remind people of that, I mean, even when you're in what I now refer to as normal school, the summer is packed, just moving from one year to the next. And so sort of creating this new beast. So I don't know if there's a way, in terms of a feel-good story, just to remind people, I think to remind people of the good, even to go back from, I feel like in New Hanover County or New Hanover County schools, people's, memories are so short. It just doesn't last for long, because boy, was that a sweet spot. But it was just a few weeks ago. But, to remind people of that, just to regain that, just that level of patience and grace, as we figure it out again.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that is a really good point. We've talked about how that feeling of doing it all together, we're all pulling forward together, would feel very good right now. And we did have that in the spring. So this is very helpful. And I hear loud and clear that we do need to post those, add those questions, and then sort so that people can see what we're working on versus what answers we have. And what else?
Can I make a suggestion for NHCS TV? First off, Michael, I loved the lessons in the spring. My son really enjoyed them, and it was really cool to have that schedule, to be able to sit him down and say, this is a second grade lesson. Like, we watched embryology together, and it was super cool. So that, I love that. I'm thrilled that you're going to continue some of those. Is it possible to extend it even, like, we're not going to be able to do field trips, it looks like, right, indefinitely. Could we do a field trip to the Arboretum on camera and post it, like things like that, so that kids have things, whether we can get a show on, is there a play happening somewhere? Is there a trip to Airlie Gardens? That could kind of be a default for a parent to have a 30-minute field trip for their child, so it was just a thought.
No, it's funny you said that, because we already had that conversation today with the head of Minnie Evans and Jackie Booth about doing performances there, and we're actually talking about live streaming them so that it feels like people are attending the performances, and all the schools can use the different spaces. So we're trying and central it at Minnie Evans, where we already have cameras set up. She just had 3 drops of internet added for this summer for streaming from there. And I can look and touch base with some of those remote places. I know we have segments already in our show. For instance, we've been to the Cape, our normal shows, Cape Fear Museums before. It wasn't quite the virtual tour, but a lot of things, like we have followed Tar Heel Goes Walking and produced 30-minute video on that tour. So we can kind of rework some of those for sure. We cool. Definitely are on the performance side, and maybe try and look at what some of the field trips are and see about adding that in.
And maybe even partnering with CFCC, like doing a video tour of the boat. I forget what the Hatteras, maybe, that they have, like things like that. They have, like, going into their shops and stuff, and letting the kids get, I don't know. We've got some really good partners in the community. It could be business trips, going in to see an office even, just different experiences for kids that align with education, but aren't necessarily so structurally academic. It would just, I think it'd be really cool. So,
Michael, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I know I asked you this pre-COVID and I can't remember what you said because I don't know why, I just didn't remember. But for watching the board meetings and watching your videos and things, if you don't have Spectrum and you have Direct TV, can you access those?
We are not on DirecTV. The whole public access, educational access, government access is basically granted because the cable companies have a monopoly on the wiring in the ground. That's why they pay for it. DirecTV's satellite, and anybody can put a satellite up there, so they're not required to carry our channel. But we stream it online, and it's an open website. Anybody and that, if you don't have internet, it is a problem, and you don't have Spectrum. But we are on Roku. We are online, and I don't know. There probably are some families that do not have access, but I think as the school system gets those hotspots and devices into those families, the goal would be every family would have that. I think Dawn Brinson's working very hard on that, getting to that level. So then everybody will be able to access our channel.
And will you remind me how where the almost like the playlist for your channel is, so that like
So
I do have a Roku, so I could look at that.
So the Roku is just a live stream. When you go to our channel, it kind of comes up and it's streaming what's on air on the cable channel.
Okay.
Our archive video library is really, we put everything on YouTube. And the main reason for that is because everything on YouTube gets captioned. So we stay ADR compliant with everything, or ADA compliant. So all pretty much the shows, if it's some show that's like a one-time thing, or maybe we sometimes have trouble depending on like concerts and stuff because there may be copyrighted music. That's me right now talking or streaming this. But we have over, I want to say close to 1,200 videos on our YouTube channel now.
Okay.
But
And
are the board meetings still being uploaded to the YouTube channel?
Yes. So board meetings, because they're streamed on the channel and they're long, they do take a few days to process, unlike other things that are automatically archived. The official board meetings, we have to process, we try and trim out because they take breaks, they take closed sessions, and we cut all that out for rebroadcast and for the YouTube version. So usually if it's on Tuesday, I try very hard to get it there at the latest Friday. Usually it's beforehand. It depends on how long. And basically I basically have my computer running.
School system wanted to, I know in the spring when we had to get devices out, is there going to be a plan for schools? Because you may have some families that are hesitant about going back to school and want to remote, but may not have devices to do that.
My understanding is there is going to be a device deployment plan, and their technology is also working with, of course, the school Wi-Fi access and the local business community to identify areas for Wi-Fi access, because connectivity is as much of an issue as devices, and that information is coming as well.
Thank you.
Sure. And another to add to our FAQs in the pending area. Absolutely.
can you speak to a little bit? You mentioned the open houses, and I've gotten a lot of those questions from parents, especially the kindergarten parents. What is that? If I'm new to school, I'm just curious, what are some of the things that are being considered as options?
Sure. We have only just touched on this in our meetings. We're having one or two meetings, staff and principals, central admin and principals per week. And we've touched on this briefly, but we haven't gotten into it in detail yet. And what's been mentioned is a need for perhaps virtual introductions, as I mentioned, and then perhaps town halls prior to the open houses. And I don't know, Kate, if you want to say anything more about that. It does sound like schools are at different levels of where they are in planning for those types of events.
Yes, something that is still a little bit unclear to me is if schools and principals are going to have some autonomy in terms of their delivery and what that looks like, or whether we are going to be required to do one standard thing. For aldermen, you know, one of the things I shared with our parents yesterday is I think it's really important that the teachers across the grade level know the students and that the students know all of the teachers, because I do anticipate some flexibility and fluidity in terms of who's providing face-to-face instruction versus remote at any given time based on, you know, exposure, you know, need to work remotely, things like that. So we had planned for the homeroom teacher to do individual, very brief meetings with families throughout the day, and then for there to be a whole grade level meeting with information, with a video from me and things like that. That was in my planning, but then in today's meeting, it made me wonder if it's going to be more standardized across the board in terms of what the expectation is going to be. This is the fun part to me. I love to plan stuff like this, so I get a little bit grumpy when I get put in a box, but I'm a team player and we're all in this together, so I will be good at it. But it really is. It's the fun part for me, but we've been thinking about it, but focusing on that date that's been set aside by the district for open house.
Mm-hmm. And I did hear that as well in terms of the need for the teachers and the personalization. Forgot about that. Yes.
And keeping in mind, this is a bit, you know, like, and of course, alderman is my lens, you know, it's a redistricting year. So it's not just kindergarten, 50% of aldermen is new to aldermen. And so, you know, it's the first time at school for a lot of families in our district.
Mm-hmm. And those are comments I'm also seeing on social media. What kind of support will the district be offering for those families who are being redistricted to a new school? So not only are they maybe a new middle schooler, but they're a new middle schooler to a whole different population. So just being aware of what principals are doing, what open house is looking like, and also following our NHCS Who's Who, or each week we're going to be highlighting a different principal. And right now I'm trying to focus on those either the new to the district principals or the principals who are at heavy populated redistricted populations, just so we can go ahead and put the introduction out to the community and hit their parents from the get-go. And I know I'm looking, Kate did this week. We had Dr. Madison on last week, and we're looking at hopefully getting Mr. Moore at Holly Tree next week. But I know today I think was his first day, so just looking at those.
Okay. We'd love to hear more feedback in terms of issues and, you know, the major themes we're hearing. I mean, we know the virtual academy is confusing, and that confusion at a state level and a district level. As well as it sounds like the issues around moving from remote to the Plan B in person and back again, and how that transition works and what the access is for families.
Can I ask the parents a question? We talked about this in one of our staff meetings about if we only had, say, a little information that was kind of new, would parents like that as like a daily phone call update or something, or would you rather us wait till we have something a little more significant, like basically the amount of, in terms of connect calls we were trying to see? And I thought maybe we could ask the parents what they thought. You know, one of the questions were answered, it wasn't the top 4 most important. Do you want some type of call communication on that, or do you want just the top important ones?
What I personally think as a parent would be helpful to me is if I knew that um, at this particular time, maybe 6 o'clock every evening, I was going to get a phone call with any updates from New Hanover County Schools, all in one phone call. And then if I saw the number and I couldn't answer, I know it's going to go to voicemail and I can read it. And if I can listen to it, I can answer it. But if it was more consistent, I think you guys do a great job communicating. I love it when I see the number come through. I'm like, okay, this is more information. This is great. But it seems like sometimes it comes through at 11 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it's in the evening. If it was a little bit more expected or predictable, it might be helpful.
Right, I agree. I like getting more information. If I knew, I agree. If I knew I was gonna get a call every day at 6 o'clock with whatever information you had, then I'm an information junkie, so I like more information. So I think that would be helpful for parents.
Me too. And if you think about it, when all of this started, Governor Cooper was doing 3 o'clock. He does his task force updates, right? And it's gotten to the point now that we all just expect it. And so if we want to know what's going on, we can turn on the TV and we know that we're going to catch it, right? And so I agree. I think that getting a consistent just time, that your New Hanover County Schools updates come at 6. And I think that's a really great idea.
I think also too, though, I think it's important to be intentional to make sure that it warrants sharing. I get really nervous with Connect 5 and try to be really intentional about when I send it, because I think people start to block the call. They start to tune it out when it's too much. Whereas I think, in my opinion, I think sometimes when it's less frequent, like, oh, this is something, like if it's not meaningful, I don't know. I analyze my Connect 5 data every time it comes in. And when I see that someone has like unsubscribed or whatever, I'm like really thinking about, how to do that. So I don't know. I think it's, and I have no idea what the district data looks like in terms of how many people, listen.
And I do agree. I don't think we should over connect 5 people, but in this time that people are seeking information, then I think they would want, we had, maybe not every day, but, I do get leery about the Connect 5, knowing parents get tired. And then there was that one time where we were saying no more Connect 5. And so, but in this time that people are seeking information, I think they would be more receptive to it.
Because right now, everybody's, it seems to be just on social media, really wanting to make a decision and kind of get something firmed up for their children, and they just need information. And so even if it was every other day, or it's just at least something more predictable that they knew was coming, might be helpful.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I don't have a substantive update. Do people want social emotional? There are a lot of resources that we can share and supports in other areas. Or do you think that they'd just appreciate a night off?
I think that would get confusing if you started going down a path of other options, but maybe what you could do if there isn't a big update, just remind them about the Ready, Set, Return website, New Hanover County, follow us on New Hanover, just like the Facebook, the Instagram, it could just be a reminder call. No updates today for Ready, Set, Return. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, on the website, and just that could be just a pre-recorded message that you can use every time there's no new updates. That you can just roll out.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
So just a question I just thought of. So I know that we need to get the survey information in a timely manner, but is there any thoughts with hearing the concerns of parents to adjust that date some and put out some answers to the FAQs that we have so you can get better feedback from parents and more parents will be willing to complete the survey. I guess what happens if a parent doesn't complete the survey?
Yeah, as I understand it, they're going to be contacted and every effort's going to be made to have every family contacted. That said, there will be people who don't respond. But I think.
Yeah, we'll track them down. We called 140 today.
Okay, so in answering that, the people that are calling people that don't respond to the survey, are they going to be prepared to answer questions that people may have? So I didn't complete my survey because I didn't know the difference. I'm just using this because it's the first thing that popped in my mind. The difference between New Hanover County Schools Virtual Academy and the State Virtual Academy. If I get a call from somebody, are they going to be able to answer my question where I feel like, okay, now I can go on my survey, or or they're going to say, well, let me get your answer. I'll call you back. We may want to put some thought into that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so when I said that we'd be calling, I meant the schools would be calling. And so I would imagine that if schools are calling, that they're having people help make those phone calls who can answer those questions. But then it's hard to, I can't speak across the board about that. The calls we made today, we had the information because the people I had make the calls, I had come to the meeting. But I mean, I would think so. Because it's really good. I don't think there's a choice. If we have to have the information to move forward, so we'll have to get in touch with them in some way.
Yeah, and my understanding is to extend the deadline, the issue is we're just getting so close that logistically it becomes impossible to actually execute by the
Right.
start.
Okay. So I didn't know that there are phone calls being made. So I think that's great. That's wonderful. We're reaching out to people that don't answer the survey. But I just hope that people are reaching out and they do get an answer. They'll be prepared to, because a lot of people may just blow the call off and I'm not going to answer. But if they do get an answer, then they'll be prepared to answer the questions that they have, which will increase the likelihood of somebody completing the survey.
Yeah, I think so.
I have a quick question too, Anne, for with the survey. I saw the survey and I don't remember, it was on my phone on a social media site. And so I completed it for my children immediately. And then I saw someone posted somewhere that said, if you completed the survey from such and such site, your answer may not have been recorded. Well, then I was thinking to myself, well, do I go back into the email that the school sent me and complete it again? I certainly don't want to call and say, hey, do you see my response? I figure somebody will contact me if if I didn't, they don't see my response. But is that possible?
I did hear that initially some surveys links were shared on social media and that was an issue. I believe that can be resolved with the data because each student is going to have a form. They've identified, parents are identifying students on each form. But I think the most foolproof way to make sure your survey has been completed is to complete it through your school website.
Okay.
And you may want to check with the school.
Twice?
Or check with the school to
Okay.
see if, that information.
Okay.
I would assume, I'm sorry.
I was going to say as the council, I shared it out too. So maybe that's me. I didn't know. My goal was just to get people to complete the survey.
Yeah, absolutely. I really didn't know. I didn't know it was going to be, I don't know what I was thinking. I just saw it and I was like, oh, I better do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it was difficult. Yeah, I understand the confusion. And I think it was school specific so that the data could be gathered at the school level. But that presented issues as well in terms of sharing on social media and people entering the information in wrong links. But I do think it comes down to there's a form for every student. So there is a way to sort. It's just a little bit more complicated.
Okay.
What happens when there are children that live in there are shared households? So there are two parents that need to be, or caregivers rather, that need to have input.
The survey is designed to be by student. So it's one survey per student, but the caregivers can collaborate on the answers for that student and the decisions for that student. That's how the survey is designed. Now, if the district ends up with multiple surveys for one student, I'm sure that will be sorted out as well. That could happen.
We have lots of surveys that have come in multiple times because either parents have changed their mind or what you just said. Even parents who live together, they both got the email, and so they were both trying to do the right thing and work it out. So that's not atypical. So like I just line them up. If the responses were the same, I delete one. If they changed their option, I just kept the most recent one. And we talked about that because parents they're trying to make the best decision and they think they're not going to do it, but then they talk to somebody who is, and now they're going to buddy up. And, so yeah, I've received lots of duplicates. I even received one family who changed their mind 3 times. I said, you got till Friday. You can keep right on changing it until Friday. We'll just keep the most current one. So that's not a big deal.
And so do we know how students will be potentially grouped for families that choose face-to-face learning for the week 1? I know there was some information about siblings will be tried to be grouped together, but other than that, are they going to group students by, like streets, neighborhoods, learning abilities, things of that nature?
That was part of our discussion today, and a decision has not yet been made on that, but it will need to be pretty soon once we get that survey data in so that we can do that. Yeah, I won't share those are just the facts. They're working on how we're going to do that, if it's going to be a district-wide or if schools will assign. But we are going to accommodate, there are questions in the form to accommodate for carpools, to accommodate for siblings. I would also like to see us, I do have some families who have said, boy, remote learning was hard, but, I have 2 friends who have children who are my child's age, and we're going to try to tag team this together. Can you put us in the same rotation? Because I think, some are saying we're going to hire a tutor to help because these parents are like, I can't do one more day of facilitating remote learning. And so, I think it's a win-win, for us to try to accommodate that. So, I expect that will be the case because those questions were included.
And that, when you said tutor, that brought up another question. I've seen on Facebook where these families are creating these pods for learning. And so will there be any additional opportunities for families that may not can afford tutors to have outside tutors for their children?
I don't have that answer right now. I will add that to our list. It's a good question. Don't know.
I would like to think that the instruction that they will receive through remote learning wouldn't require that. I think in some instances, the tutor, I think, was as a relief for the parent in some sense to sort of help orchestrate it. But I will tell you, one of the other things that's on the survey is about daycares. And one of the things that we really want to do is to be able to partner if the children who are in their 2 weeks of remote learning are going to a local daycare. We've asked about what child care facility that is, because we would like to do some professional development for the people facilitating that child care so that hopefully the children could be participating and engaging in remote learning there, which I think will also be easier for families. Because when, a parent gets off work at 6 o'clock and goes home, they're exhausted from their work day. They don't want to then spend 3 or 4 hours, facilitating the day's remote learning. So I think that could be helpful as well.
And so another question that I received, maybe just some ideas for people that are what maybe a list of, I don't know how we could provide this, a list of daycares, because families are going to be responsible for finding somewhere for their kids to be if they're not comfortable with them being home for the 2 weeks that they're off. And so I think that's a great idea, partnering with daycares or facilities like the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club to do that. And maybe any ideas with people that are making decisions, what are they doing with their kids? Because, that might help people make their decisions.
Mhm. Okay. I notice it's 6:35 and I want to be sensitive to everybody's time. And I know Stephanie had to jump off. And so I want to thank everyone. Are there any additional comments or questions? I know that we're going to get more questions from the PTA Council, and thank you, Bernice, for that. And we'll incorporate them into the FAQ. Anything else?
I just thought of one. I've had a lot of parents asking me about services that were being rendered in schools for different children, like therapeutic services and things of that nature. So that might be something to add to the list as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't say very much, but I'm a good listener, and the information today will be very helpful for the board. So I will share that as we meet.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Ann.
Right. Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your time and value your
hard work.
input. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
And please feel free to reach out. Anything that you see and anything you see that we can do differently or address anytime, we're open to that. Thanks so much for participating tonight.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Guys, have a good evening.
Bye.